It is now 4 minutes after the hour, and Mike Landers joins us this morning, and the fallout continues from the Sylacauga City Council meeting last week. And Mike, first of all, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, Jimmy. You know, I've always enjoyed being on your show because it's like old home week, a lot of favorable folks getting together. The one thing, though, I would say to you is you're wearing that Dignity Funeral Home shirt there. I wondered if I looked so bad that you thought that I might be the next customer for you to marry.
I'll be the last one to let you down.
I believe that in many ways.
Let's talk about what's happening here in Sylacauga. It's made national news in a bad way.
Jimmy, you know, one of the things that has happened in Sylacauga is there seems to be a spirited, an unkind spirit that swept across the city of Sylacauga. And a lot of it is at City Hall simply because, you know, there's been so much infighting down there. One councilman filed police charges against the others over a disputed resolution. And then we had one council president that only lasted a couple of months because there was a disagreement with that council president. And then we get a new council president, and the infighting and the inability to accomplish anything. And what the public needs to realize is that these council persons and the mayor have had a 5-year term, not a 4-year term, a 5-year term, because the state of Alabama changed the way that municipal elections were scheduled. So they've had 5 years to do something. Now, what did they choose to do? Pretty much nothing. But that's what they chose to do or not do. But the reason I'm here today is I'm here to try to bring a little real information that the city apparently either can't get or won't get about the Haitian people that are here, and has brought up so much concern, especially with a group of older people. And I say older people, if you looked at that group that was at the council meeting the other night, they're older people. Well, let me tell you something about older people. There is so much culture shock right now for older people. There's a vast change in technology. There's a vast change in ideology. There is a vast change in violence in our society. And people are naturally concerned. People are not concerned that folks are, these group of Haitians may or may not be good people, because we all know, Jimmy, that of every ethnic group, every type, every person, man, woman, foreign, native born, they're good people of all kinds. And the one thing that's fundamental to that, and you know this better than anybody in your work in the ministry, we're all God's children now. Mm-hmm. And our mission is to love our brothers and sisters and to spread the good news about Jesus. So you got to look at it that way. There's another aspect to this too. The Constitution of this great country extends to foreigners when they're here, just like it does to you and I. And we don't want to suspend the Constitution, because once you suspend it for one group, you and I may lose our constitutional rights next. But the thing with the Haitians is this. These Haitians are here, and Jimmy, are you very familiar with the country of Haiti?
I am.
You know, it's forever been the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. It was run by a dictatorship controlled by a family named Duvalier, Papa Doc Duvalier and Baby Doc Duvalier. They stole from the Haitian people. They mistreated the Haitian people. They haven't had adequate food. They haven't had adequate shelter. They haven't had adequate health care. They haven't had adequate education. Then the Duvaliers are ousted, and it becomes just a free-for-all with warlords trying to establish what's left of the remains. Well, I don't blame these folks for wanting to leave Haiti. I'd want to leave there too. Now, but the problem is, how did they get here and why they're here? The city came out early and made a premature statement that said these folks had been vetted and they had been looked at. These folks are here under a program that allows people to immigrate to this country under an immediate basis, and it's called parole, but not parole in the sense that it's parole from a jail. It's a parole from that war-torn area so that they can come here. But once they're here, they come under an emergency plan. They don't have visas. They have work permits. But once they're here, the federal government doesn't follow them anymore either. They don't keep a check and balance on that. They don't know if one Haitian immigrant is here, or if they move to there, or they move to here, if they move to California, if they move to New York, if they move back to Alabama. Nobody's tracking them. So there is legitimate concerns. Plus, they self-report when they come under this program whether or not they were violent offenders or offenders at all. They self-report. There's no way to track this. So quite naturally, people are concerned about that. They see on the news this violence of immigrants in other areas, and so they're concerned. Sylacauga is a loving town. People are friendly, and nobody said that we necessarily wanted to just exclude anybody from Haiti coming here, but we've got to know who's coming here, and we've got to know if it's safe for these people to be here. Now, the first statement the city issues is, they're here illegally, there's nothing we can do about it. That's partially true and it's partially not. The federal government is solely responsible, and primarily the Biden administration is solely responsible for the problems with immigration. The states can't do anything about it because it's a federal program. But the feds mandate things that we have to do when we have immigrants come into our community. For instance, we have to educate children. Well, we don't have French Creole speaking teachers here to address this issue. You know, it's only been through a long process that we got the Hispanic speaking individuals in school to deal with an ever-growing Hispanic population. And that's worked out fine. You know, the Hispanic people have come here with a working spirit, and they've come here wanting to be good citizens, but there are a lot of bad actors that come across the border. And they're not all Hispanics, and they're not all Haitians. They're all kind of folks that come in the crowd, in the sea of people that are coming. So it's legitimate that people in Sylacauga, and especially those folks, showed up to have questions. But I can tell you that these people are here temporarily. They're here on a permit to work, not a visa. And so we don't know what happens to them once they leave here. They're just out there.
So what do you make, Mike, of the way the council meeting came to a conclusion last week?
Well, Jimmy, the only thing I could say is that it was disrespectful. You know, I'm going to say this about Mrs. Nix, and I don't want to get into personalities too much, but Mrs. Nix understands protest when she does it. She doesn't understand it when a citizen does it, because Mrs. Nix stages her own personal protest every week, or not every week, but every council meeting when she refuses to pledge allegiance to the flag. And what Mrs. Nix doesn't seem to remember is that she took an oath of office to do the work of the citizens of Sylacauga when she was sworn in to be a city council member. So it may be that Mrs. Nix's demeanor is her spirit is not right to be council president, because if you can't listen to your citizens, and we under the Bill of Rights have the right to petition our government for a redress of grievances. That's what those people were doing. They were there to talk about a concern they had about, and you've got to remember too, these are older people. So there's so much hitting them. There's so many things that are different for them now. And they don't rely on the internet for their information. They rely on talking to the people they've elected. So it was rude, it was disrespectful, and it was contrary to the job of the city council, and that's to listen to the concerns of the public. But now I'll say this, she had two accomplices in shutting them down. And what was most offensive that Ms. Nix said to me is, I'm going to shut this down. Well, I'll tell you what she shut down. She shut down free speech for those people, and she shut down the right for them to petition the government, and she shut down their ability to talk about what concerned them. And she had two accomplices in that too. Lee Perryman and Ashton Fowler, when they made the motion to adjourn and seconded it, they were just as guilty as she was in disrespecting those people. I'm going to tell you that it's my position that Mrs. Nix should voluntarily step down as council president and make an apology to these people and try to do better. She's probably not going to do that, and she probably don't care what I think, because she obviously didn't care what those people thought. But I tell you what, we all have an opportunity to remedy that, and it's at the ballot box, and that's coming next summer. And one of the things that needs to be done is the council can change their leadership. They can change who the president is. They've done it already twice this year and kept one only 2 months. So I suggest to them that they get a little backbone and make a change this time. And, you know, there's another problem in this. Mayor Heigl and Jim Heigl and I have been friends for years. I've always found Jim to be honest when he tells me something and I believe it. But Jim got ahead of himself, or somebody that's helping Jim. You know, Jim has had the loss of his wife this year. Jim has had open heart surgery this year. His brother Butch has had a terrible time in the nursing home. Jim's had a lot of pressure. Plus Jim's in his 80s. Jim may not be up to the job anymore, and Jim may need to let somebody else that's got a stronger spirit and a stronger ability to take the mess. And then in the middle of that, he had this criminal charge filed against him by another council member over a resolution that they passed. So Jim's had a tough year. It may be time for a change there. But anytime I see the council being that unresponsive and non-responsive to something as important to those people, those older people that were there, it bothers me. And I can tell you that Sylacauga needs somebody at the head of the table down there that's not afraid to speak up, somebody that's not afraid to say what needs to be said, somebody that will move Sylacauga forward and not backwards.
So it's been rumored that possibly you might jump in the campaign.
You know, Jimmy, I have run before for council, and sometimes I'm a polarizing figure in that I don't ever pull any punches. I tell you what I think. And I'm polarizing in that I'm not scared of anything or anybody. And you know, some of the folks downtown, they like you to be a little scared. Well, either I hadn't got enough sense to be scared, or there's not anything they can do to me to make me scared. So, you know, I've been up and down the road a long time, had some problems in my life, dealt with them, overcame them. But a short answer to your question is, we're in the process of forming a committee right now to look at a run for mayor, simply because we don't have a presence in Montgomery from our city. We don't have a presence in Washington. And by the way, I do want to say this. The information I just gave the people about these Haitians is in cooperation with our local representative, Ben Robbins. Ben is doing all he can to help gather information. I got on the phone to the folks I know in Washington, got the information I could get, and you're going to have to get information about this from Washington. Folks in Montgomery don't know because the states themselves don't know what immigration policy is. The Biden administration itself doesn't know what that policy is. So we're just out there as cities and states on our own with this issue.
Mike, we got to go. Appreciate you coming by this morning, and let us know what you decide to do, and I'm sure that we'll hear from you again.
Well, you'll hear more about this. And let me say one thing before we go. Pam and I have your son, Matt, on our prayer list because I come to know Matt, and Chase, my son, worked with Matt in law enforcement. And we have every good wish and every strong prayer for Matt's recovery, because, you know, the Lord can do anything and everything.
All right. Mike, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mike Landers, our guest this morning. Star student, headed your way right after this.